What's going on, everybody? So once again, another 2 mock drafts for the LA Chargers. See what else we could get. Definitely looking at one of the top 5 wide receivers in this one, and one of the top cornerbacks as well. So to kick off this one, we're gonna go with the wide receiver side of the mock draft. Round 1, I have the Chargers selecting the wide receiver Treylon Burks out of Arkansas. He has been one of my favorite players the past couple seasons. But for some reason during the combine, his test numbers were kind of bad and he was a little bit slow. I don't know if that's just because he has different game speed, because there is a difference of getting a 40 time speed and your game speed is a bit different. But I mean, maybe he's just also doing that because he wants to get drafted by a better team that's higher instead of someone in the top 10 or top 15, something like that. But overall, I think he's still going to have a nice career, even though if he has some maybe injury concerns coming up that have kind of been red flagged by a lot of scouts, but I still think he has a future. So as of right now, that's who they're picking in round 1. Round 3, have them going with a cornerback, obviously a position of need, but from one of the better teams out there, Cincinnati, getting Kobe Bryant. Not that one, but yes, I believe he was pretty much named after the ex-Lakers star. Once again, he was like the second guy on the better team who obviously has the better guy, Ahmad Sauce Gardner, who I obviously loved this last year. He had a great year. I mean, he had no touchdowns completed against him. I think less than 100 yards total completed against him this whole entire year. But of course, he's going to go in like the top 5, top 6. So to get his running mate and pretty good solid player himself, and especially if he's available here in the 3rd round, I thought was a pretty nice steal, and it was a better position available for the Chargers in this mock draft. Round 4, I have them going with a defensive lineman and Haskell Garrett from Ohio State. Liked him the past couple years. For some reason this year he was a bit more quiet. A lot of the other younger guys kind of more stepped up around him, but overall, I still think he has a lot of talent, especially because he can interchange play inside and maybe go to the outside and rush the quarterback as well. So I like him a lot, and for him to be available here in the 4th round is a steal, in my opinion. Round 5, I have him going with another edge player in the defensive end, Amari Barno from Virginia Tech. Obviously a very fast player. He was one of the faster players at the combine. And to be, 6'4", 6'5", something like that, playing defensive end, you're gonna get really high, gonna get drafted highly. But for some reason, in these mock drafts, he's been available in this 4th to 5th round area. Obviously had to take him because he was one of the better players still available. Even though we haven't gone with the offensive lineman here that we need, I still went with the edge because I think he was too good to pass up. Round 6, though, I did finally go with the offensive tackle, and Dare Rosenthal. Remember, he was from LSU before, but transferred to Kentucky, and obviously Kentucky was a little bit of the better team, rushing attack as wise. So overall, I think he's still a good enough player to draft. I've drafted him in these mock drafts before in around this same area, so I think this is a good guy to get to add depth to your offensive line. Probably not going to be a day 1 starter, but hopefully they could do that for this mock draft's sake in free agency or a trade. You never know. Other round 6 pick, I have him going with one of my favorite players, safety Smoke Monday from Auburn. I don't know why he's getting selected this late, but I still like him a lot. Very versatile defensive player, as you've heard me mention a lot of times in these mock drafts, because for some reason he's always available. I always need a safety or a defensive back, and he's always there in the 6th round. So had to get him once again. Could be better players that I probably missed out on, but I still think this guy's versatility is what the Chargers need. Then when it comes to round 7, have them going with a linebacker in DeMarco Jackson from Appalachian State. He isn't probably the more well-known guys out there as far as like casual fans, but a lot of scouts like this guy, and surprisingly he was available in the 7th round. For some reason, he's been available there in a lot of the recent mock drafts. I don't know why. If there's an injury or they found out something medically or outside of football, but I think he's still going to be a very productive player, especially in the special teams area and as your backup linebacker. So I like that selection there. Round 7, going with an interior offensive lineman in Dawson Deaton, who is the center for Texas Tech, but I'm sure can be pushed out to any of the guard positions to help out. Let's try to solidify that offensive line, whether it's a second group or maybe come in for injuries as well. I think to get a smarter guy like a center to back up either of those 2 to 3 positions is better in my opinion. Round 7, have them finally going with the running back from Washington State and Max Borghi. Heard me mention before in other mock drafts that yes, he is a poor man's Austin Eckler, or people want to try to compare him to a Christian McCaffrey, but there's no comparison because McCaffrey's on a whole superstar level when he's healthy, but this guy shows some flashes of an Eckler, in my opinion, where he can break off long plays, can catch the ball as well out of the backfield, go down the field to score. So to get a guy that's pretty talented offensive-wise and probably can play your special teams unit as well, it's a good pick here in the 7th round. And the final pick for this mock draft of Treylon Burks, have him going with a tight end from San Jose State and Derek Deese Jr. I've talked about him before where I didn't really know much about him, but seeing more of the stats and a couple of the highlights here and there, I like him a lot. A lot of the mock people that are more in the industry have been talking about him a bit more as well. So obviously this was a smart pick in my opinion. I kind of hit on a guy that is getting a little bit more traction, kind of like a James Mitchell, the tight end from Virginia Tech, who I would have picked here but got picked a couple picks before. So even though he's injured, he could still become a very talented NFL tight end in a lot of people's minds. So there you go. That's Treylon Burks' mock draft if the Chargers were to draft him in the 1st round. Maybe they could have moved back a couple spots, gained another pick. I know, what's their name? Green Bay is kind of looking to maybe move up with those 2 first-round picks because, yeah, they are first-round picks, but they're past 20. So maybe they can move up with the Chargers. Chargers might have to give up their 3rd. I would always give up the 4th. I wouldn't help out Green Bay that much. So the 2 firsts for the Chargers first and the 4th round. I think that would be pretty nice for the Chargers. But we're not here to talk about trades. We're here to talk about the other mock draft. So I have them going with a cornerback, as I mentioned. And he's Andrew Booth from Clemson. I think he's top 2 or top 3 rated cornerbacks out there to a lot of mock drafts, and obviously to get him right here, you are probably reaching a little bit. Once again, they could move back to maybe get him, but to get one of these premier cornerbacks in the draft and to be able to shore up that side, have more depth that they're going to need, I think is really good for the Chargers. So round 3, have them going with another defensive player in linebacker Quay Walker from Georgia. Obviously, he wasn't the best player on the team for their national championship team, but he was very consistent, and he's very interesting because he's like 6'4", 200-plus pounds, very fast. Obviously, not maybe the best cover linebacker, but when you send him out on blitzes and have him playing up close to the line of scrimmage, I think he can be a terror to any offense that they're playing, especially in the AFC West. So to get him here in the 3rd round is pretty surprising. Round 4, have him going with a running back in Brian Robinson Jr. from Alabama. One of the better running backs, in my opinion, out there, but a lot of these NFL teams don't prioritize the running back position high anymore. I don't think in any of these mock drafts, running back wasn't picked till like the 2nd round anyways. So this guy is still considered like a top 5 at his position, but just picked in the 4th round, so that's a good value for any team to be drafting him. But obviously here, he's on the Chargers, so nice backup to Austin Eckler. Round 5, I have him going with a tight end from Iowa State and Charlie Kolar. He's a big dude. He's like 6'6". I know Iowa State was pretty good at rushing the ball, so I'm pretty sure he's a good run blocker as a tight end. He made a couple of plays here and there for Iowa State. I always thought he could make a bit more, score a bit more touchdowns and stuff, but they always ended up going with other guys or focused on the run game as well with Breece Hall, because obviously Breece Hall is a beast at the running back position, but I think he could be a really talented offensive tight end in the NFL, in my opinion. Round 6, have him going with a safety, Bubba Bolden out of Miami. But obviously this is an ex-USC player, so I'm only going to show pictures of him in a USC uniform. Yeah, it didn't work out at USC. He was a 5-star guy out of Vegas. Was very talented, but I think it was just the culture and all that stuff around there that he kind of wanted to transfer out. Went down to Miami, which wasn't better for him anyways because they ended up firing their coach as well and having all that crazy stuff happen over there. But he did perform a lot better at times, got more playing time, had a couple interceptions as well in his career with Miami. So he did become a better player. I don't know if he would ever lived up to that 5-star status, which is why he's going in the 6th round here. Been picked pretty late, like 5th and 6th round. A lot of these mock drafts that I've seen, so not a bad pickup to add some depth to the defensive back position. Round 6, have him going with an interior offensive lineman from Wisconsin, I believe, Josh Seltzner. Obviously, you know my opinion about Wisconsin offensive linemen. They're most likely going to be used to help run the ball because that's what they do best up there. They always have a 1,000 to 2,000 yard rusher every time on their team who always looks good, but it's because of the offensive line. They're gigantic human beings up there. Every guy averages like 6'5", 300 plus pounds, something crazy like that. But it looks like he could play both guard and maybe tackle if you want to push him out there, but I think he'd be better suited for guard with the LA Chargers. Round 7, have him going with defensive end Jeffrey Gunter, who I picked before out of Coastal Carolina. Once again, just body type, picking for the round 7s just because he's a big, tall guy, 6'4 plus, 200 plus pounds. He was on a pretty talented team, Coastal Carolina, but it's not like they were playing Alabama or Ohio State, the top teams every single year. But be able to get a guy who had some type of momentum going into college or coming out of college, and then see what he could do for, you know, be one of your backup defensive ends, I think is a guy to take a stab on this late in the draft. Round 7, have him going with an offensive tackle and Darren Rosenthal. Once again, this guy has been all over my mock drafts. I've seen him in the 5th. I think I drafted him in the 5th, 6th, and 7th rounds. Either, I don't know what it is that's officially pushing him all around these drafts, but overall, I still think it's a good pick for the Chargers this late in the draft, especially round 7. To get a talented tackle like this, obviously add some depth there as well. Round 7, have him going with a wide receiver, Khalil Pimpleton from Central Michigan. Obviously, you heard me say he's probably going to play more of the slot just because of his size, but being able to have that type of speed. And I remember, I think he got on everyone's radar when he had that 3-touchdown game. And he was pretty consistent throughout, almost 100 yards a game with a touchdown every other game. But it was a crappier conference, but to be able to go off for the 3 touchdowns tells me that he can play in the NFL, in my opinion. Last pick of this mock draft for Andrew Booth. I've been going with the defensive end and Christopher Allen from Alabama. This guy is usually picked so many places, kind of like Rosenthal, but this guy is like, I could pick him in the 5th, 6th, 7th round, maybe sometimes 4th he's available. But overall, I think it's just where he's going to drop because you just never know. I know he had some off the field issues, which is probably why he has dropped in a little bit, but add a talented dude, especially on the defensive line from Alabama. It's never a wrong thing, in my opinion. So that's pretty much how I believe the Andrew Booth mock draft would go for the Chargers. Like and subscribe, comment down below, let me know what y'all think. I know I've gotten a couple more comments on the past mock drafts that I've done recently, which is pretty cool. I like criticism and seeing what you guys think as well. So yeah, keep talking and we'll see what we can do. I know the mock draft's coming out soon, and the real draft will be starting this Thursday. So that'll be pretty interesting to see as well, to see who the Chargers officially go with. Thanks for watching. See y'all later.